the cold power of playing dumb. He lied to your face. He took the credit. He laughed in front of everyone like you didn't notice, but you did. You saw everything, and you said nothing. No reaction, no correction, no need to prove you caught the game. That's not weakness. That's not fear. That's strategic ignorance, power in disguise, because when they think you're blind, they get bold, they overshare, they get sloppy, and while they're busy performing, you're already 10 moves ahead. See, in today's world, where everyone's trying to out-talk, outsmart, outmaneuver, the most dominant move is this. Let them underestimate you, let them get comfortable, then end it, quietly. Let me show you how to weaponize it. Why strategic ignorance is elite power. Smart people often make the same fatal mistake. They need you to know they're smart. They spot the play and rush to expose it. They catch the jab and immediately defend. They feel underestimated and scramble to prove they're not. But in doing that, they give everything away. Their awareness, their emotional response, their position on the chessboard. Why? Because ego doesn't wait. Ego needs to be seen, to be right, to be respected. But power doesn't rush. Power is quiet. It's patient. As Marcus Aurelius said, the nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. That's not power. That's ego leaking through strategy. The most dangerous players, they don't explain, they don't correct, they don't need recognition. They just observe, store the data, and wait. That's strategic ignorance, not reacting, not because you're unaware, but because you're calculating, because you're 10 moves ahead and silence buys you more. Tiberius, Emperor of Rome, mastered this. He was mocked, lied to, surrounded by polished snakes in togas, and yet he said nothing. He let the noise play itself out, let the liars talk longer, let false confidence inflate unchecked. And just when they thought he was blind, he ended them, silently, decisively, without warning. That's the game. Let them underestimate you. Let them fill the air with noise. Let them think they've got you figured out while you sit in silence and wait for the moment they can't take back. And the most dangerous players, they don't need the crowd to clap. They just wait for the silence to do its job. In this video, I'll show you how to weaponize that same mental warfare, how to become unreadable, unreactive, and untouchable. Let's begin. The power of not reacting to the first provocation. Let's start here. The first move someone makes is rarely the real move. That snide comment, that sarcastic smile, that backhanded compliment in front of others. It's not the attack, it's the bait. Most people take it. They react. Instantly. They jump into defense mode or go on the counterattack. And the moment you do that, the power shifts. You've just confirmed that the bait worked, that they touched something real in you. This is where strategic ignorance begins. You don't flinch, you don't respond. You act like you didn't even register the hit, because deep down, you've already seen it for what it is. A test, a probe, a power play. Let me give you a real-world example. A senior manager I worked with once told me about a younger colleague who kept trying to push his buttons in meetings, subtle undermining tone jabs, even direct challenges to his decisions. His instinct? To assert dominance and shut it down. But instead, he chose silence. He let the guy speak, let him dig deeper, gave him rope. By the third meeting, everyone else in the room saw through the act. He didn't have to expose the challenger. He let him expose himself. Because here's the thing, when you don't react to the first provocation, you force them to reveal their full hand. It's emotional jujitsu. Use their momentum against them by giving them nothing to push against. Instead of reacting, say something neutral. Interesting take. I'll give that some thought. Or just silence. You're not playing weak. You're playing deep. And when you show that you're not easily moved, they start to wonder what else you've seen and what else you're not saying. That doubt, that discomfort, it's power. So next time someone tries to provoke you, don't meet them at the surface. Let them keep fishing in silence while you sit still and let the trap close itself. Now that you understand the power of not reacting, let's take it further, because sometimes the smartest move is to let them think you're not even aware. Let's talk about the art of being underestimated on purpose. 2. Let them underestimate you on purpose. Most people fear being underestimated, but the ones who understand power, they engineer it. Because when someone thinks you're harmless, they lower their defenses, they talk more, they share more, they make mistakes. That's not a threat, that's an opening. See, when people think you're sharp, they hide their cards, they overthink their words, they posture, calculate, protect. But when they assume you're behind the curve, they get casual, they get comfortable, and that's when they start bleeding intel. Let me give you a real-world example. A high-stakes negotiator I once worked with had a brutal tactic. He'd walk into the room and play slow, ask the simplest questions, stuff he already knew backwards. Can you walk me through that revenue breakdown again? What was the logic behind that term? Wait, just to clarify, you said. And the other side. They'd light up, they'd over-explain, they'd feel in control until they weren't. Because he wasn't confused, he was baiting them into comfort. And when people feel smart, they feel safe. And when they feel safe, they make predictable mistakes. That's strategic ignorance, not stupidity, camouflage, not weakness, war paint. Here's how you apply it. Next time you're in a high-pressure room, debate, deal, or drama, don't show your sharpest insights up front. Hold them. Let others think they're ahead. Ask one innocent question. Watch the shift. They'll loosen. They'll talk longer. Their ego will fill the room. And as it does, you collect data. Because when you let someone underestimate you, you're not losing ground. You're just moving beneath their radar. And when the moment comes, you don't strike louder. You strike quieter, cleaner, right through the blind spot. Or as Marcus Aurelius wrote, the art of living is more like wrestling than dancing. Stay low, stay calm, and when they misstep, end it. That's how perception becomes your armor, and misjudgment becomes your weapon. Now, once you've let them expose themselves, here comes the real test. Do you reveal what you know? Most people would, but not the ones who play to win. Let's talk about the discipline of withholding your awareness, even when you see everything. 3. Never reveal your full awareness in conflict. You ever catch someone lying, and instead of calling it out, you just watch? Not with anger, not with sarcasm, just a calm, unreadable stare. That moment, it's nuclear, because when someone disrespects you, lies to your face, or plays a cheap move, your instinct wants to fire back. Prove you're not the fool. Make it known. I saw that. But here's the truth. That reaction gives them everything. Now they know what you caught. Now they know what matters to you. Now they know where to push next. And worse, you've just exposed your attention span to their tactics. Here's what the dangerous players do instead. They observe in silence. They store the moment. They give no confirmation. Because when you don't react, they don't know if they landed the hit or missed completely. That uncertainty, it rattles them. Let me show you how this works in real life. A senior exec I coached had a teammate secretly leaking project info to a competitor. He discovered it. Hard proof. But he said nothing. No confrontation. No shift in tone. He just kept playing the same role. Calm, collaborative, unaware. But behind the scenes, he gathered evidence. He adjusted strategy. He let the guy dig deeper, all while smiling across the table. 3 weeks later, he walked into legal, everything documented, no drama, no warning, just checkmate. That's not passivity, that's surgical restraint. Because when you act too soon, you start a timeline. You give the enemy time to adjust, clean up, reframe. But when you stay silent, you hold all the variables. You control the timing, you control the reveal, and when you finally move, there's no defense, because they never saw the strike coming. So next time someone crosses a line, don't flinch, don't correct, don't let your awareness become a gift. Let them think they got away with it. Let them breathe easy. Let them walk deeper into their own trap. Because when the moment's right, you won't react. You'll end it. And they'll never even know what gave them away. Now, what happens when the disrespect is verbal? When they throw the jab masked as a joke? When they drop a line designed to pull a reaction out of you? Most people take the bait. But you'll do something sharper. Let's talk about selective ignorance in conversation, how to respond only when it's worth it, and control the tempo without saying a word. 4. Selective ignorance in conversation. Only engage on your terms. Here's one of the sharpest tactics no one teaches you. You don't have to respond to everything, not every jab, not every comment, not every loaded question disguised as casual. Most people, they treat conversation like a courtroom. Every remark is a challenge. Every silence is pressure. Every smirk demands a counterstrike. But that mindset, it puts you on a leash. Now they lead. Now you chase. Real power doesn't respond on command. It chooses when and if to engage. Let me show you how this works in the real world. You're in a room. Someone says, "Well, some of us actually prepare for these meetings." Or, "I didn't think leadership was really your strong suit." Classic bait. Designed to make you flinch. Designed to pull you out of character. Most people snap back, try to prove themselves, correct the narrative. But you don't defend, you don't even blink. You just say, or you tilt your head, breathe, move on. That silence, that restraint. It's a checkmate in disguise, because when you don't give them the emotional spike they were fishing for, they're left dangling, second-guessing, trying to figure out what you're really thinking. And that uncertainty, it's your leverage. Here's what most never understand. Responding to everything doesn't prove strength. It proves you're reactive, that your emotions are up for grabs, that anyone with enough nerve can hijack your focus. But when you respond only to what matters, you set the tempo, you create mental pressure through absence, you make them perform while you conserve energy. So how do you train this? Try this. Selective engagement drill. Next time someone throws shade, ask yourself silently, is this bait? Is this noise or signal? Will this matter 24 hours from now? If the answer is no, don't engage. Not with a word, not with a twitch, not with tone. Let them hang in their own echo. Let the silence thicken. Let them wonder, did they even hear me? Did I mess up? Are they planning something? You don't win by reacting. You win by not giving them access to your emotions. You turn the whole room into a mirror and make them watch themselves. So remember this. The strongest presence in any room isn't the one who speaks loudest. It's the one who doesn't respond to nonsense. Selective ignorance is not weakness. It's warfare. And it tells the world, you don't get to decide what I give my attention to. Now, once you've mastered selective silence, let's layer in a deeper tactic. How to look like you don't know, even when you know everything. Let's talk about the strategic use of "I don't know." 5. Use "I don't know" as a shield, especially when you do. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you let someone think you didn't understand on purpose? See, most people hate looking unsure. They fight to appear competent, sharp, unshakable. The moment they know something, they say it. The moment they're challenged, they clarify. But here's the power play. Pretending not to know is one of the strongest ways to control a conversation. It slows the tempo. It forces the other side to reveal more. And it allows you to operate without being targeted. Let me give you a real example. A corporate strategist I once coached was facing board-level politics. One member in particular kept trying to corner her with overly complex jargon, trying to prove she was out of her depth. Now, she knew exactly what he meant. She'd done the research. She saw through the tactic. But instead of answering point for point, she leaned back and said calmly, I don't have full context on that piece. Could you walk me through it?" That move did two things: forced him to explain more, and in doing so, he overstepped, got sloppy, and exposed inconsistencies. Positioned her as curious, not combative, which built trust with everyone else in the room. She didn't win by proving knowledge. She won by weaponizing uncertainty and letting the room judge for themselves. That's the key. You don't always have to assert your intelligence. Sometimes you disarm the room by appearing open while mentally charting everything. When you say, "I'm not sure," it's not surrender. It's a delay tactic, a redirect, a signal that you control what gets exposed and when. Here's how to apply it. Next time someone pushes for your opinion too quickly, say, "I'd like to think on that a bit longer. I don't have a sharp take yet. What's your perspective?" Then let them fill the space. Let them reveal their position. Let them mistake your silence for softness, because while they're focused on appearing smart, you're watching the battlefield shift and choosing when to strike. And when you finally move, you move clean, informed, and with full tactical clarity. The Stoics taught it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Epictetus. So you let them teach, you let them talk, and all the while you're learning exactly where to strike. And now, with your intelligence hidden, your emotions guarded, and your timing precise, you're ready for the final move. Strategic forgetting. How to not remember what doesn't serve your power. 6. Strategic forgetting. The art of not remembering what you're supposed to. Some attacks don't need to be defended, some provocations don't need to be addressed, and some things, they're best forgotten on purpose. Because remembering everything is not intelligence. It's emotional clutter. You don't need to carry every slight, every dig, every cold look. You don't need to replay the comment. You don't need to prove that you saw it all. Here's what powerful people do instead. They forget, strategically, not because they didn't notice, but because they decided it wasn't worth keeping. Let me give you an example. There was a CFO in a major tech firm, sharp, stoic, precise. An ambitious junior once tried to throw her under the bus in a boardroom pitch, passive-aggressively blamed her team for delays. Everyone caught it. Tension rose. She looked up, blinked once, and said, I must have missed that. Can you remind me what you're referring to?" The tone wasn't sarcastic. It was surgical. She flipped the moment, not by fighting, not by defending, but by acting as if the insult didn't even register. That does two things. It denies the aggressor their emotional payoff. It forces them to either double down and look petty or backtrack, and either way, you stay untouchable. Here's the lesson. When someone tries to bait you, don't store the moment like it's sacred. Don't give it a room in your mind. Just forget, not out of weakness, but out of selective indifference. Forget the insult, forget the drama, forget the bait. And when they bring it up later, waiting for your reaction, "Oh, that? I barely remember it." That line, it's not just dismissal, it's dominance. Because power isn't always about what you confront. Sometimes it's about what you don't carry. And when you move through the world with this kind of mental cleanliness, nobody can trap you in emotional tension you never agreed to hold. Now, let's bring all 6 strategies together and close strong. The power of knowing what not to show. Let's be clear. You're not unreachable because you speak less. You're unreachable because you choose what to notice, what to respond to, and what to forget. You don't react to the first shot. You let them underestimate you. You observe without revealing. You pick what you engage with. You hide your edge behind calm, and you erase what was meant to anchor you. That's not apathy. That's discipline. That's strategic ignorance at its highest form. And the more you master it, the less effort it takes to control the room. Because the real power isn't in what you show, it's in what you withhold. Ready to go deeper? If you want to learn how silence becomes your sharpest weapon, and how to dominate without ever raising your voice. Watch next. The art of tactical silence, how to control any room without saying a word. You've learned to not show what you know. Now learn how to say nothing and still win. Let's go.